You know that moment when everything starts perfectly. You're feeling confident. Your partner is right there with you. And then suddenly, without warning, it just stops working. Your body betrays you right in the middle of the most intimate moment possible. The frustration hits you like a wave, followed by embarrassment, and then that creeping sense of panic that maybe something is seriously wrong with you. You start wondering if this is just how things are going to be from now on. If you've crossed some invisible line where your body just doesn't cooperate anymore. But here's what most men don't realize, and what doctors rarely take the time to explain properly. Losing your erection during sex is not some rare condition that only happens to a few unlucky guys. It's incredibly common, affecting millions of men across all age groups. And more importantly, it's almost always fixable when you understand what's actually happening inside your body. The real problem isn't that you're broken or that there's something fundamentally wrong with you. The problem is that nobody has ever sat down and explained the actual mechanics of what's happening, why it happens, and most crucially, what you can do about it right now to turn things around. Let me break down something that's going to change how you think about this entire issue. Your ability to get and maintain an erection isn't just about blood flow, although that's a huge part of it. It's actually an incredibly complex dance between your nervous system, your circulatory system, your hormones, and your psychological state, all working together in perfect harmony. When everything is functioning optimally, it feels effortless and automatic. But when even one of these systems gets slightly out of balance, the whole thing can come crashing down. And here's the really important part that changes everything. Once you understand which specific system is causing your problem, you can target it directly and see improvements sometimes within days, sometimes within weeks, but almost always much faster than you'd expect. The process starts in your brain, specifically with something called the parasympathetic nervous system. This is your body's rest and digest mode, the opposite of your fight or flight response. When you're aroused, whether through physical touch, visual stimulation, or mental fantasy, your brain sends signals racing down through your spinal cord and into the pelvic nerves. These nerves release a crucial molecule called nitric oxide directly into the smooth muscle cells that line the arteries inside your penis. Now, nitric oxide is absolutely critical to this entire process. And this is where things get really interesting from a scientific perspective. This molecule acts as a messenger that tells your penile arteries to relax and open up wide. When those arteries dilate, blood comes rushing in at high pressure, filling up the spongy erectile chambers called the corpora cavernosa. Research published in major medical journals shows that men with higher nitric oxide levels have significantly better erectile function, faster response times, and more sustainable erections. The more nitric oxide your body can produce and utilize, the easier and more reliable this entire vascular process becomes. But there's another crucial piece to this puzzle that most people never learn about. At the exact same time that blood is rushing into your penis, a series of tiny valves in the outflow veins have to close off and seal shut. These venous valves are like little one-way doors that trap the blood inside the erectile chambers, creating the pressure needed to maintain firmness. Think of it like filling up a balloon. If you're pouring water into a balloon, but there's a leak at the bottom, you'll never get it properly filled, no matter how much water you add. The same principle applies here. You need both the inflow of blood and the prevention of outflow, working together simultaneously. This creates what's called venous occlusion, and it's absolutely essential for maintaining an erection during sexual activity. It's a delicate, intricate balance of smooth muscle relaxation, healthy arterial function, and effective venous sealing, all coordinated by your nervous system in real time. Now here's where age becomes a significant factor, and this is something that affects every single man as he gets older. Your body's natural ability to produce nitric oxide from the endothelial lining of blood vessels decreases substantially over time. Scientific studies have documented that nitric oxide production can decline by up to 50% between ages 40 and 70. This dramatic reduction is one of the primary reasons why erections tend to get weaker, less reliable, and harder to maintain as you age. Your penile arteries simply aren't receiving the same strong, clear signal to relax and open up that they used to receive when you were younger, and nitric oxide production was at its peak. The blood vessels don't respond as quickly or as completely, and the whole process becomes less efficient and more vulnerable to disruption. But here's the part that should give you genuine hope and motivation to take action. Just because nitric oxide production has declined doesn't mean it has to stay that way permanently. You can absolutely optimize and improve this process, regardless of your current age or how long you've been experiencing difficulties. There's always room for improvement when you take an evidence-based approach that identifies the root causes and addresses them systematically. Clinical research has demonstrated that natural compounds like French maritime pine bark extract can significantly boost nitric oxide production and help reverse a condition called chronic venous insufficiency. This is when those venous valves we talked about become leaky and allow blood to escape from the penis too quickly during intercourse, making it nearly impossible to maintain firmness. Studies published in cardiovascular pharmacology journals found that this particular extract improved endothelial function, enhanced nitric oxide availability, and resulted in reduced symptoms of venous insufficiency in men with vascular disorders. What this means in practical terms is better blood retention, stronger erections, and the ability to maintain that firmness throughout sexual activity. When you combine targeted supplementation with the right lifestyle modifications, you can dramatically improve your ability to achieve and maintain erections. The fundamental key is understanding that erectile function is really about vascular health, nerve function, and hormonal balance all working together as an integrated system. Now that you have this foundation of knowledge about how the process actually works, you can see why interruptions happen. If something disrupts this delicate vascular and neurological balance, whether it's interference with nerve signals, poor circulation, hormonal deficiencies, or mental distraction, the erection will fade. But in the vast majority of cases, you can regain that control when you know what to target. Let's get into the specific reasons why men lose their erection during sex. Based on both clinical research and extensive experience treating thousands of patients with these exact issues, the first reason is something almost nobody talks about, but it matters tremendously from a physics and hemodynamic perspective. Gravity is literally working against you in certain positions. When you're lying flat on your back with your partner on top, gravity actively pulls blood away from the penis, instead of helping to pool it in the erectile chambers. This becomes especially problematic if you have any degree of venous leakage, because not only is blood trying to escape through those leaky valves, but gravity is actively assisting that escape. Venous leakage becomes increasingly common as you age and can also result from penile trauma or injury that you might not even remember happening. Changing positions to work with gravity rather than against it can make an immediate and noticeable difference. The second major reason involves psychological factors and the mental component of sexual function. Your brain is genuinely your most important sexual organ. Even though we tend to think of arousal as purely physical, scientific studies show that psychological factors account for up to 60% of erectile dysfunction cases, especially in younger men who don't have significant physical health issues. If your mind drifts during sex to performance anxiety, if you're having thoughts like, "Am I doing this right? Does my partner like this? What if I lose it again, just like last time?" That mental distraction literally activates your sympathetic nervous system. This is your fight or flight response, and it works directly against the parasympathetic response that's essential for erection maintenance. Your body physically cannot maintain an erection when your sympathetic nervous system is activated because these two systems are mutually exclusive. You're either in rest and digest mode, where erections are possible, or you're in fight or flight mode, where your body is directing blood flow to your muscles and vital organs instead of your penis. The third reason has to do with decreased penile sensitivity that comes with aging. As you get older, the nerve endings throughout your penis become less sensitive due to natural aging processes and potential damage from various factors. Research demonstrates that penile sensitivity can decrease by up to 30% between ages 40 and 70. These tiny sensory nerves get damaged over time from conditions like diabetes and cardiovascular disease, or even from mechanical trauma that happens during normal sexual activity over the course of decades. Additionally, blood vessels throughout your body lose their elasticity and can't expand as effectively as they used to. Less sensation means less stimulation reaching your brain, and insufficient stimulation can result in erection loss during intercourse because your brain isn't receiving strong enough signals to maintain all the complex processes required. The fourth reason centers on insufficient arousal or mental engagement during sex. Sometimes you might be physically present with your partner, but mentally checked out, thinking about work stress, financial concerns, or any number of other distractions. If you're not fully psychologically aroused and engaged, your brain simply won't send strong enough signals to maintain the complex vascular and neurological processes required for sustained erection. This can be affected by stress from your job, unresolved relationship issues, underlying depression or anxiety, or even environmental distractions, like worrying about noise or interruptions. Your arousal needs to be both physical and mental, working together for optimal erectile function. You can't fake the mental component, and your body knows when you're not truly engaged. The fifth reason creates what's called a self-fulfilling prophecy, and it's one of the most common patterns seen in clinical practice. Once you've experienced erection loss during intercourse, even just one time, the fear of it happening again can actually cause it to happen repeatedly. This performance anxiety triggers your sympathetic nervous system every time you start to have sex, which, as we discussed, directly opposes the parasympathetic response needed for erection. Research confirms that psychological factors, particularly performance anxiety, are among the top predictors of erectile dysfunction. You end up in a vicious cycle where the fear of losing your erection actually causes you to lose your erection, which reinforces the fear, which makes it even more likely to happen next time. Breaking this cycle requires both physical interventions and mental reframing. The sixth reason involves your overall cardiovascular and vascular health. Poor cardiovascular health directly impacts erectile function because erections are fundamentally a vascular event that depends on healthy blood vessels. Conditions like hypertension, diabetes, high cholesterol, and atherosclerosis progressively damage the delicate blood vessels throughout your body, including the small arteries in your penis. Studies have found that erectile dysfunction often appears 3 to 5 years before cardiovascular disease becomes clinically apparent, making it an early warning sign that something is wrong with your vascular system. If you're having erectile issues, it's worth getting a comprehensive cardiovascular evaluation because you might be catching a more serious problem early when it's still highly treatable. The seventh major reason is hormonal imbalances, particularly low testosterone levels. Testosterone is absolutely crucial for maintaining libido, erectile function, and penile sensitivity. As testosterone levels naturally decline with age, typically about 1% per year after age 30, many men experience corresponding decreases in erectile quality and sexual desire. Low testosterone doesn't just affect your sex drive, it actually changes the physical responsiveness of penile tissue and reduces the sensitivity of nerve endings. Many men don't realize they have low testosterone until they get tested because the decline is so gradual that they don't notice it, happening year by year. Now let's talk about evidence-based solutions that can turn this situation around and help you regain control over your erectile function. The first solution is remarkably simple but often overlooked. Completely empty your bladder before any sexual activity. A full bladder puts direct pressure on the pelvic nerves that control erection and can physically interfere with the neural pathways essential for maintaining firmness. This is basic anatomy, but it's something most men never think about. Taking 2 minutes to use the bathroom before sex can make a noticeable difference. The second solution is to use gravity to your advantage by being strategic about positions. Positions where you're standing, kneeling, or where your partner is positioned on top can work with gravity rather than against it, helping to maintain blood flow to the erectile chambers. This is particularly important if you have any degree of venous leakage, because you want every advantage possible to keep blood pooled in your penis. Experiment with different positions and pay attention to which ones help you maintain firmness most easily. The third solution involves prioritizing extensive foreplay for both you and your partner. When your partner is fully aroused and ready, you'll naturally receive more stimulation, which helps maintain erection strength through increased sensory input. Additionally, ensuring your partner is completely ready before penetration means you don't need to maintain your erection for as long during intercourse itself. This reduces the time pressure and anxiety that can contribute to erection loss. The fourth solution is to completely avoid alcohol before sexual activity. Alcohol is a central nervous system depressant that significantly impairs the neurological reflexes necessary for erection maintenance. It also causes dehydration throughout your body, which reduces blood volume and can directly impact erectile quality. Clinical studies show that even moderate alcohol consumption can reduce erectile function by up to 25%. If you want optimal performance, skip the drinks beforehand. The fifth solution involves being strategic about how often you ejaculate. Your body needs adequate time to rebuild neurotransmitters, hormones, and energy reserves after orgasm. While the optimal frequency varies significantly between individuals based on age and overall health, many men in their 40s and beyond find that spacing orgasms 7 to 10 days apart improves erection quality and sexual stamina noticeably. This doesn't mean you can't be intimate with your partner more frequently. It just means being strategic about when you actually ejaculate versus focusing on your partner's pleasure. The sixth solution is to consider using a constriction ring, sometimes called a cock ring. These devices physically help trap blood in the penis by applying gentle pressure around the base, making it significantly easier to maintain firmness throughout sexual activity. This can be particularly helpful if venous leakage is contributing to your erectile difficulties. From a medical perspective, these devices are completely safe when used properly and can be an effective addition to other treatments. Many men find that using one gives them enough confidence to reduce performance anxiety, which then creates a positive cycle of improvement. The seventh solution requires taking a comprehensive approach to vascular support over the long term. Real, lasting improvement requires addressing the underlying vascular and hormonal factors affecting erectile function systematically. This includes optimizing your cardiovascular health through regular exercise, proper nutrition focused on vascular health, and targeted supplementation with compounds that have actual clinical research supporting their effectiveness. Ingredients like French maritime pine bark extract, L-arginine, and pomegranate extract all have published studies demonstrating their benefits for erectile function through various mechanisms, including improved nitric oxide production and enhanced blood vessel function. The eighth solution focuses on addressing sensitivity issues through multiple approaches simultaneously. To restore penile sensitivity, you need to tackle several factors at once. First, make sure your testosterone levels are optimized through testing and appropriate treatment if needed. Low testosterone directly correlates with decreased sensitivity and diminished sexual response. Second, consider devices that provide controlled vibration to penile tissue. Research shows that vibratory stimulation can increase local nitric oxide production and improve nerve sensitivity over time. Third, focus on improving your systemic nitric oxide levels through diet, exercise, and appropriate supplementation. Decreased sensitivity often results from age-related changes to penile blood vessels, reduced nitric oxide production, impaired circulation, and decreased elasticity of the erectile chambers. So addressing nitric oxide helps multiple aspects simultaneously. Men who take a truly comprehensive approach, addressing vascular health, hormonal balance, psychological factors, and mechanical considerations together, consistently see the most dramatic improvement. This makes sense because erectile dysfunction is usually caused by a combination of vascular, neurological, hormonal, and psychological elements that need to be addressed systematically, rather than just trying to fix one thing in isolation. Your erectile function is also an important indicator of your overall health status. Taking care of your sexual health often results in improvements to your cardiovascular health, energy levels, and overall quality of life. These systems are all interconnected, so improvements in one area tend to cascade into improvements in others. If you're dealing with persistent erectile issues, the worst thing you can do is suffer in silence and convince yourself that this is just how things are now. These problems are incredibly common, highly treatable with the right approach, and absolutely nothing to be embarrassed about. Men overcome these challenges every single day with commitment to their health and the right combination of interventions tailored to their specific situation.